Emilio, the honey badger, Urrutia.
I'm JP. In Stanza. Now here's the news you need to know.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Honey Badger Hour. Okay, recording. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Honey Badger Hour, episode 51. And today we are joined by a very special guest, maybe the lightest, but the pound for pound heaviest hitter. Does that make, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're a little oxymoron here. I'm here with comedian, okay? Miami New Times, 2019 Comedian of the Year, okay? Sketch comic, improv, tarot reader, host, actor.
Sure.
Actor.
I have too many jobs. You don't need to list all of them.
Writer.
You're reminding me of all the jobs I have right now, actually. I'm like, you're right, I do that. I did do that. Okay, yes, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, a lady of many hats, the amazing Brittany Brave.
Hey! I like that you introduced me like it was a fight. Lightest in the weight class, but strongest pound for pound. That might be my new tagline. Yeah.
I was thinking about it all morning, and I messed it up on when the light hit. It's
all right. It's okay.
It made sense, though, right?
It landed. It totally did.
Yeah.
Light as a butterfly, but I sting like a bee. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Like the lightest pound for pound, but you pack the heaviest punch.
I like to think so. I have a Napoleon complex for sure. So yeah, that works out. That's accurate. Yeah.
There you go. Welcome to my humble abode in Kendall.
I love it. I can't believe you. This is very fancy for Kendall. This is great. And you're in an area of Kendall that I used to have a lot of like hometown friends growing up in and stuff. And this is like 5 minutes from where I live in Kendall. Stalk us, everybody. Thank you.
We're right in the center.
Yeah. This is Kendall. This is amazing. Yeah.
Either two things will happen from our 100 followers. Either we'll get like a really weird stalker, or somebody's going to rob me and get really disappointed when there's nothing here.
And either way, that's a win-win. Exactly. We just love it for the material. Listen, once you become a comic, you're like, well, whatever happens to me, it's material, right? That's it. Who cares? Yeah.
It's all data.
It's all data.
How about that, right?
That's true. And it's all, no press is bad press. So definitely come rob us and kill us and fight us. And you know what? We'll take it. It's okay. Yeah.
If that'd be your biggest claim to fame, being caught, murdered, and robbed after doing a podcast.
I hope so. What an honor it is to be a young woman who gets murdered in society. How fancy. How she's a hot commodity.
You go out in fame.
Exactly.
The infamous.
I'll get famous one way or another. That's the thing.
She died bravely.
Exactly. There it is. That's it. Either on late night television or in a murder documentary. It doesn't matter. I'll do anything for a TV credit. It's fine. It's so fine.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. All right, so you're here now doing comedy in Miami. Were you born and raised in Miami?
I was born in New Jersey. I have family up in like New Jersey and New York and stuff. And then I was raised in Kendall, like went to school in Kendall, grew up in Kendall, lost my virginity in Kendall, all of it Kendall, yeah. Real rough around the edges kind of gal. And then I lived in New York a little, and now I'm back in Miami. So it's just been a flip-flop, basically.
Wow, so you were born in New Jersey? I was born in New Jersey too. What part?
Oh, no way, Bergen County.
Bergen County? I think I'm near there. I was born in Patterson.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I'm not sure what county. I'm not sure what county it is.
I don't know if Patterson's still Bergen County, but I totally know what Patterson is. I was technically born in Belleville at Clara Moss Hospital.
Yeah.
A dirty, terrible hospital. I can't believe my parents let me be born there. My mom had an infection after her C-section, so we're survivors.
She did?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and if you've ever been to Belleville, New Jersey, you're like, yeah, people just get infections from stepping outside of their house there. But yeah, my whole family's from Jersey. I lived in Lyndhurst. I have family in like Rutherford, Cranford, Cherry Hill, Toms River, Jersey. Yeah.
All the names of Jersey sound like places that you would definitely get murdered.
100%.
Tomsville, like
100%.
Super scary places,
and in
right?
the weirdest way, too. You would find a murder story that you're like, she got killed. How? Using a bottle cap? Like, what? Like, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and then when did you move to Miami?
My parents moved here like 30 years ago. They like honeymooned here after they got married. Well, I guess 40 years now, maybe even. Yeah. We're all getting older. And they loved Miami. And then very serendipitously, like 6 months to a year later, my dad got offered a job in Miami, and they were young, wild, and free. And they had no reason not to say yes. So now here they are 40 years later, and here I am at 31.
Wow, so what
and I
year-
can't wait to leave. No, just kidding.
What do
Yeah.
you think? You did leave, right? You were able to get out for a little bit?
Yeah, I did. I did college in Gainesville at UF, and then I went straight to New York. I always wanted to live in New York, so yeah.
Wow. Oh, you went to New York straight after college?
Right after college, like I graduated, I got a job in the music business full time at Columbia Records, and I like graduated in June, moved in July, started my job in August, and I lived 7 years in New York. So,
Wow. Oh, you got a job in the music what were you doing in the music industry? That sounds so cool.
I was a publicist. It's not that cool.
Okay.
I hated it. No, I had fun. A lot of rooftop parties, a lot of drinking, occasional cocaine. It was fun. Rockstar life, baby. No, I loved music, and I studied PR in college, and I knew if I was going to become a publicist, that was the thing. Like I was always a performer, but like my parents were like, you need a safe job and something to fall back. Very classic story. So I did PR, and then I was like, well, what could I do PR for that I really love? And it was music. So I worked in the music business for a few years.
Did you meet a lot of musicians and stuff? Or?
Yeah. I met Beyonce. I met Barbara Streisand. I met John Legend. I met T.I., who's doing stand-up now. It's a problem.
Have you seen him since?
No.
You're like, yo, I was your publicist. I told you not to do that.
No, right? Yeah, I know, right? I'm like trying to look back if I ever had any conversations with him where he was like, I've been thinking about trying comedy, and the whole label was like, please don't do that. Don't go down that road. I haven't seen him since, but he was always very nice. He was great. I don't think he really remembered my name because every time he saw me, he'd just call me baby, which just sounds nice, but it also sounds like a guy who doesn't have my number saved. You know, he's like, baby. That's
a tagline for like, oye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dale, hey, you. Yeah, like, you know, how all the Miami men talk to me. But
Oye,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, you. I got called down here by like somebody I used to work with in Miami. He literally like, I guess, and he knew my name very well. And he was just like, hey, you tiny thing. And I was like, excuse me? Like, I have a name. Baby sounds a lot better. Anyway, so yeah, did New York for a couple years. Yeah.
And how did you get into comedy?
I don't even really remember. I've like been my whole life I've loved comedy, and I've always been like the joker in the family. Everybody in my family is like a nurse, a teacher, a lawyer, or something responsible and boring. And I'm the only artist, the only performer in my family. Yeah. And like, I mean, other people have done like sports or cheerleading or stuff like that. But I'm the only person with this kind of a career. So I don't really know when I got into it. Like I've just loved comedy my whole life, basically. And was always acting and doing improv and sketch and all that kind of stuff.
So like in school, you were like a thespian and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Doing all the acting classes? Mm-hmm. Would you do the plays in school?
Oh yeah. My first big role, they wrote it in for me. It was Peter Pan.
Okay.
And they really wanted me to be Wendy, and apparently I nailed my audition, but I wasn't tall enough to be Wendy. Those bastards, you know. But the acting is so cutthroat.
So ruthless,
casting,
huh?
Yeah. And but they really wanted me to be involved, so they wrote in Tinkerbell. And Tinkerbell, they made like a funny Tinkerbell character, and that was the first play that I would listen. And Tinkerbell's sexier than Wendy anyway. She fucks better, so it's fine.
Tinkerbell's way hotter, you know.
She's way
hotter. She got a better outfit.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
She's a little naked. She's
flirty. She's in her bathing suit. She's out there in her bathing suit. You know what I'm saying?
I had fun with the role. I blew the director in 4th grade. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So I did all of it.
Your big role.
That was my big role. Yeah, and I blew the director, and it was a woman. So you do the math. It was. I was always into that stuff, and thespian Troop 6162. Shout out Varela 6162.
Varela, all right, there you go. That's cool. That's the local neighbors of ours.
Yeah, literally my neighbor. Still now, stalk me, literally.
Come through, slide through.
Yeah, it's like deja vu. Yeah.
So when you were doing, and then like, that's when you first started your acting and stuff like that. And then when you went to college, were you already pursuing acting and stuff in college? You were doing, you got into sketching and stuff like this?
Yeah. I did it my whole life, honestly. I worked with like Roxy Theater Group in middle school and high school. And they're a great local, theater production company here. And I did improv and sketch and acting with them. And then in college, that's a lot of what I did. I studied theater, and I was super, super involved in improv, like balls to the wall. In improv, so
how much did that help you now with your stand-up? Because I think one of
sounds weird to say balls to the wall with improv. It's not that extreme.
Right. I was going to introduce you.
Yeah,
like I've heard you say this before, where comedy is interesting like that, right? I was going to introduce you like, yo, this next girl, she's a real killer, and I've had like legit, like I've had like guys who fight and stuff like that, but I'm like, nah, this one's a killer. And about a comedian, you know?
Yeah.
But I bet you, how much did like doing thespian and being in and doing like plays and stuff like this and acting help you for when you started doing your stand up, like with the nerves and the getting on stage?
So much, yeah. I mean, I think I've been able to kind of accelerate with stand up. I mean, I've only been doing stand up. I just hit 3 years.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks. Yeah.
I mean, like stand up, like getting on stage.
Yeah,
writing jokes,
stand up.
But you've been, I know what you're saying, but you've been making people laugh. You've been hilarious, I bet, your whole life. Yo. Like,
yes, thank you. Yeah, I haven't been a lot. Like the funny girl thing is like, it's like you're never the hottest one. You're just always that girl who's in the corner and is like, I'm smart and I make people laugh. You know, so like then that girl now is like, ha ha, I'm winning. I found a job for me. I'm cool now. It's like so funny now to watch female comedians be cool. Like everyone's like, that's so cool that you're like a female comedian. I'm like, every girl is a female comedian and is like really good at it too. Is the girl that was like picked on growing up, or the girl in the corner, I think, who was like, I guess I won't be naturally hot, but I will be funny. Like, you know, like a troll.
It's the great equalizer.
It is a great equalizer.
You know, I guess it works both ways, you know, because I'm sure for guys too, right? Like you gotta have, like, you gotta have something. Like, what's your thing, you know? Like,
yeah.
So when you get the guy who's like handsome, good looking, and funny, you're like, all right, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. Also, his comedy's usually really boring. Anytime I see guys that are like traditionally good, and I'm not saying I'm attracted to them. That's a conversation for another time. But like I get it. Like traditional hot, get on stage. Their act is always so boring, and it's kind of, you know. I've also noticed that with girls sometimes, not always, you know, not to generalize everybody, but when you see like really pretty, girly, whatever, like it's a rarity that what comes out of their mouth is like different than what you're expecting or whatever. But again, don't judge a book by its jawline. I don't know. Or its great tits. I don't know. But yeah, no, for sure. Acting helped. I think that's why the transition to stand-up was so easy and fast. Because I've been on stage my whole life. So now I just have to figure out how to write a joke. And how to carry my own up there and be funny and crowd work and stuff like that. But I for sure wouldn't be where I am today had I not had many, many years of improv and acting and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you remember your first mic? Like, or do you remember the first time you went on stage, like, to bust up quick to do your 5 minutes?
I do. Yeah, I remember one of the first for sure. I started stand up specifically after being in a really abusive relationship for like 3 years. So my life was like in shambles when I started stand up. Like, yeah. Like I know you're like moment of silence. Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah. And it was fine. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. But like at that time I was like, my life was just falling apart. Like I just had like a super abusive partner. I had sent him to jail. Like I was but it was like the best thing that ever happened because it forced me to be like, I'm not doing what I want to do with my life. Like I had to look at everything in my life and be like, why aren't you doing comedy? That's what you want to do. And like, get out of PR and move out of that apartment and stop hanging out with those people. And like, it was like a total whatever. So yeah, I definitely remember there was one day that I was like working, doing PR stuff. I'd run my own business. And I was like so out of it. I was like, God, I don't fucking care. Like I was just like, I don't want to do this. And I was really depressed, probably hungover, like going through it with that relationship. And I just like stopped working halfway through the day. And I looked up. It's like a scene from a movie. It's so cliche. I just looked up like open mics in New York City. And I just was like, fuck it. And I just like dropped my entire day job, didn't tell anybody where I was going. And like mics in New York start at like 2 p.m. Like there's mics all day. And I just took the train and I went to, I think it was like the People's Improv Theater. It was like the first thing. And I just got on stage and started talking about what was going on in my life. I didn't have jokes yet. I just knew it was like dark and real and kind of funny and weird. And yeah. And I remembered being like, this feels really good. This feels way better than improv ever did. Wait a minute. And then the rest is history, I guess. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Through every great, sometimes through like the hardest hardships, you know, sometimes through the greatest pain, you know, you find your best successes, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't even know the growth that was happening while it was happening. And it's so funny because in that moment I felt so at a standstill. Like I was like, my life sucks. What have I done? Like this, I let this relationship, this person, I lost myself, so broke, so lost, so like everything. And I was like, you know, what does it say? Like, you know, like the still water is what runs deepest kind of thing. Like, it's like in that moment, I thought I was like failing, but like little did I know everything was like turning around, like everything in a really, really big way. So, yeah.
All the growth, a lot of the growth happens in the dark, they say, right?
In the dark. Yeah, all the growth does. It's not, I think growth isn't, especially in a comic is the most obvious way for it. A lot of the growth happens on the ugliest nights, and it's in quiet. It's not, we're in an art form where it's like the people that are like, I'm killing it. Oh my God, I just did 45 minutes last night. I'm so funny. Look at me. Look at that. Those aren't the people that are actually growing. Like, we're in an art form that's like, the growth is quiet and gritty and dark and hard. It's in the nights at Taurus where you're like, God, this is awful. And there's nothing to really brag about, but that's the work that needs to be done. Like, that's the kind of stuff. And I think growth and confidence are things that happen quietly and modestly, I think. Yeah.
Especially in comedy.
Especially in comedy. Yeah.
We were just talking about that. That's one of the reasons I remember, like, I came across you before I even started doing comedy. I saw a podcast that you did on the Don't Blink podcast.
Love those guys.
Shout out to you.
Love you guys. I miss you guys. Ow. I miss you guys. Yeah. Yeah, those are the coolest dudes. Yeah.
So after this comes out, they should have we would have just done an episode together, and I was just telling him the same thing. That's why I'm so glad that I had you guys back to back.
Yeah, this story's crazy. Yeah.
So I remember I was in Thailand. And we're gonna go right back to you, but I was in Thailand. This is how I got you. This is why I'm so excited that you're on the podcast right now. It all comes full circle. I remember I was in Thailand. It was COVID lockdown. I had moved to Bangkok because I'd wanted to do stand-up comedy for a while, and Bangkok had comedy clubs.
Yeah.
And then the one night I was going to go, that they had an open mic on a Friday night after teaching, and then I taught my class, and then I pussied out. I didn't go, and then COVID lockdowns came like 3 days later.
Timing.
Yeah. But I remember watching an episode of your podcast I was watching your episode of Don't Blink podcast.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to get put on to like Miami comedy. Cause like I searched you, then I found you on Instagram. I started watching your clips, And I think I saw one of your shows at Villain Theater that was on, like, cause they post like free shows on their YouTube.
On their YouTube.
You know?
Yeah.
So then that's when I was like, that's when the seed was planted where I was like, all right, I need to move to Miami and start doing comedy there. And you were talking about doing comedy in Miami. So like you were the one that like put me on. So like, yo, there's mics there, Like you were talking about doing shows and how Miami's different. And I think you had just moved from New York because So I was like, yo, Miami's, and I remember I was in COVID for lockdown, and I was like, Miami's the place to be right now. And then I was like, I was missing my family. I wanted to come home. So it was like, it all went full circle.
You saw this girl on YouTube, and you were like, it's going well for her, I guess. Yeah. I feel responsible. I don't really feel proud of this. I'm like, I'm kidding.
Fast forward, I'm doing comedy, and then the first night I see you is at Taurus, and you're wearing a Don't Blink podcast shirt. And then I was just, and then I got to see you do stand-up. I don't know, I didn't speak to you or anything like that. This was like my third mic.
This is crazy.
This is like my third mic ever. So my first week doing comedy.
Yeah.
And I think Mike Daba told me you're about to go up, and then like, and I saw you, and I got even more nervous. I was like, oh shit, like I didn't know back then either, And I didn't know that. Obviously, when you first start, you don't know that nobody gives a shit what you're saying up there, But I remember like I was so nervous thinking, oh my gosh, she's gonna hear what I say, like worried about it, and then like. Yeah, so that was my first experience meeting you in the comedy scene, yo.
Yay, this is
you're wearing
crazy.
a Don't Blink podcast, so I was like, yo.
That is so crazy. That's how people are fated to meet, and that's, I think, a sign. I think more than anything, forget me, just the shirt and everything, Yeah, was a sign for you that your move back to Miami was the move, and it was going to enable you to kind of reconnect with your roots and stuff like that. And that's awesome. That's a very, very cool story. Yeah,
so shout out to you and Don't Blink podcast. You guys are
in the Taurus Coconut Grove.
In the Taurus Coconut Grove, always. All right,
always. That's a great spot.
That's that's for sure where legends are made. Every time I bomb,
I'm going there tonight. I'm going there tonight. I'm feeling a bomb, baby. I want to take it tonight. I'll be there with an old fashioned in my hand, like, just let's go. It's like rough sex. It's like good rough sex, the Taurus. It's like...
once you get it done, like no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a war out there.
You walk out, you got a little vertigo. You're like, I don't know if I enjoyed it, but I got it done. We finished. We got through it. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
I've left, I've gone there multiple times, just leaving my tab open, my tripod, take my phone, just running home into my car.
There so many times because I'm like, get me the fuck out of here.
Because you don't want to walk through you got to walk through the people again, and you don't want to see those people again, So I'm just like, I want to go out the door and just keep going to my car.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And the way that room is structured, it's like there's so many different that whole narrow hallway, or that narrow area by the bar. There's so many different things that are always happening. And when you're on set, I love the tourist. It's a beating, but I like it.
And
like
when it lights,
which we know I like from my ex. It's kind of my thing. Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying? Yeah.
No, keep going. I was just saying, yeah, tourist. Like when it lights, if it hits, it hits. Though when the place is on, it's like magical.
Yeah, it's really like an abusive relationship. Like, it's kind of like when it works, it's like the kind of thing where you're like, nah, fuck that, man. I don't really want it. It's not worth it, and it hurts, and it never, like, whatever. Then you'll have that one night that you get up there, and you're the person that shuts them up on a Thursday night, Coconut Grove, 10:30 at night. They put their drink down and look at you, and you're like, like, I remember one night I did that. I got on stage at Taurus, and I just did that thing that, like, elementary school students do. Like, they were out of control, and everybody was not only bombing, but, like, losing it, like, after bombing. Like, they're like, fuck you guys, and, like, throwing the mic, and, like, everyone, like, we're all, like, going through it. It's great. It's like, that's the show. It's watching all of us lose it. That's the show.
Oh, that's the entertaining part afterwards. Like, you just watch this,
Yeah. I've watched, like, Danny Benevente, one of my best friends, one of my favorite comics and stuff, and I've watched him just be like, yeah, fuck you. Just like yelling at people. Like, it's just great watching us like completely fall apart in that room. But I went up one night and I was like an elementary school teacher, and I just was like, I'll wait. And I just like stood there silently. Like, Oriel brought me up and he was just like, Brittany Brave. People were like, da, da, da. And I was like, I probably used like 5 of my 10 minutes just being like, I'll wait. And all of a sudden, because I was so quiet, it like trickled throughout the bar, and everyone's like, why is it so quiet? What happened to the stand-up that we were ignoring? And then finally I was like, clap once if you're listening. I was like, clap twice if you even give a fuck about stand-up comedy. Like, it's fun. It's Taurus, Coconut Grove. We love you. Yeah.
That's funny how you say it's like an abusive relationship. That's why
Yeah.
That's why we stay in it. That's why people stay in them for so long.
For that one night that it's good.
Because it's amazing when it's amazing.
Oh,
and you find
yeah.
that person and where there's that chemistry.
Yeah.
And then everything after that is just complete pain and trauma. But then you get those couple of shining moments and you hang on to those moments.
Because you think that that's what's possible. You're not, it's like not weighing pros and cons, and it's not looking at the reality of the situation, or like the forest for the trees, or whatever other saying it is. But it's like, you know, you're like so perplexed about how this person that you're so enamored with, that you feel so close to, and that you have been able to feel love and trust with, it gets really bad, and it's hard to accept that it's really bad. So that's why when those nights or those days or those small patches of time come when it's really good, you're like, no, see, like it can be good. So there's hope. There's hope. Like, we went 4 whole days without fighting. That's amazing. Like, you know, and that's just not the reality of it. You got to look at it for what it is the majority of the time. So
it's hard. It's a hard reality to accept, right?
Yeah.
Like, we like to hold on to the things because sometimes being out there alone and having all those days alone,
yeah,
is more scary. Sometimes we rather sometimes we like to be together, just to be together and not be alone, and be hate each other and be miserable. But like, man, it's crazy. It's wild. Like the toxic, you know. Like, I'm finally understanding that word, you know.
Oh yeah, it's a real. I hate that word, but I love that word.
I know what you're saying, because I understand now. Like, when I have friends now, like, oh my god, and you see them fighting with their girlfriends, I'm like, yo, why? It's crazy.
And let me be clear: a lot of relationships are toxic. Most relationships have toxic elements to it. Like, there's very few couples that I know that I've seen them fight and argue and stuff, and I've been like, yeah, they're okay, they're healthy, that's really normal. Like 9 times out of 10, we all have we're all toxic a little bit. Like, there's things we need to work on. We could have handled things better and stuff. But yeah, it's a very unnatural, but it's hard. It's hard to let go of people you love. That's why it's so easy with domestic violence victims to be like, well, why didn't you leave? And you're like, well, okay, I did like love this person, and there were good moments, and there were reasons to stay, but you know.
Yeah, that's a hard one. So like, because I was a man, like, we always think like, oh, why don't you just walk away or just leave, you know? But like, yeah, if you want, we can get into that a little bit. Like, what was your breaking point? What gave you the strength? You're like, all right, that's it. I gotta, like, were you able to? Did you have any male friends or anything? Like, God, I wish I would have known you back then. We would have handled that. No, I'm saying.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Like, no, I'm saying like I guess because you don't want you're together, so you don't want to be like, I guess, because you still love the person, right? Even though the shit happens, you can't just forget everything, right?
No. I don't even hate him to this day. You know, like I hope he's fine. I hope he's taking care of himself. I don't have a lot of faith that he's doing either of those things, but you know, it's not my problem anymore. The breaking point is it takes a while to get to it, just because a lot of times the abuse comes in different forms that you don't realize are abuse, and you're just like, oh, we fight bad, or he's going through it, or he was just a little drunk that night. And if you've never experienced that before, it can be hard to identify it. Like you just think like, no, he just gets like a little angry when he drinks, or like, oh, he just, you know, and then it's the longer that you stay with somebody in any relationship, the more everybody's walls are lowered. And then the more everybody's walls are lowered, the more you get attached, and the more you become codependent and everything. But also the more you start to see people for what they actually are, right? You know, so that's kind of what happens. So it's like kind of like by the time you even sort of realize that it's like a problem, it's not too late because you can leave. I'm living proof that you can leave, but it's a lot harder to leave because now you're like maybe living with somebody, financially intertwined with them. You are in love. There is an attachment there. There has been a lot of good. And now you're kind of like, well, wait a minute. Like you're reconciling the two different versions of this person or the two different versions of this relationship. And yeah, I did have a breaking point, but it took a lot. It took like, what's the statistic? The statistic is like, on average, people leave or attempt to leave 7 or 8 times before they, if God forbid, they don't die or get severely injured and like they're forced to leave. The average is I think 7, maybe 8 times there's attempts. And I mean, I blew that average. Like I tried leaving a lot throughout 3 years. And, but I will say when that breaking point hits, it hits. And that's the thing is that people will see the light, but they have to see it themselves. That's so crucial. I had to like, nobody was going to take me out of that. Like no fight was going to take me out of that. No family, no friend, no anybody. I had to come to it on my own, and which is what happened. And just halfway through one last really bad fight, it just was like a light switch. I just was like, nah. And that was it. Like it's, you know, but that was a long time coming, you know, so.
It's like a drug addiction, you know. You gotta cut it. Your friends can't help you get clean, you know. Like your parents, they can take you to read, they can do all the things you want, but if you don't want to get clean, you're not gonna get clean.
You're not gonna get clean. You're not gonna see yourself through the program. You're not gonna, you know. And that's the beauty and ugliness of it. And the tricky part of it is that all of our free will and our fate is completely in our hands. So you know, it's everybody can tell you to leave, and you know you should leave, or you know you should go to rehab or whatever. But that's the glorious and triumphant thing is that when you do leave, you can be like, it was because of me. I made that decision 100% on my own. And I did it on my own and like navigated all of that on my own kind of thing. And it's got to be your idea because it's still your life to live and your fate to decide, you know. As cheesy as that sounds, it's true. So
yeah, for sure. Did your partner, was he trying to stay with you after you left? He's like, no, I'm just kidding. I want to take you. Like, was he trying to get you back? And because that's a hard one too. If somebody wants to, I think for women, I don't know. My experience with women is like when they're done, they're done. When you're done, you're done.
When I'm
make
done,
that
I'm
decision,
done.
But
yeah,
then
you
that's
men
usually,
are never. You men are like, I'm so done, or you're whatever. You know, you'll all come back.
But
yeah.
when the girl says to the guy, I'm done, then the guy freaks out. 'Cause you know what I'm saying? And we're like, oh no, just kidding. You know?
9 times out of 10, I do think that when women are done, they're done. I agree. I would totally agree with that. We take a lot of shit, and then when that day comes and we're like, bye, and we're out. Like, at least that's how I am too. Like, I've never gotten back with an ex. I'll put up with a lot of shit. I'll give it another shot, or I'll be on and off with people, or sit through a lot of bullshit that I don't deserve. But when I have reached that point in all of my romantic relationships, even personal, even with friends and stuff too, that I'm like, no, that's it. That's it. I've never turned back and gone back with an ex. So, yeah, he did. That's part of the cycle, though. And, you know, and at some point, you're the toxic one, too, in those 3 years. You know, at some point, it's like he fucks up and the cops get called and it's a really bad fight. But then he's, like, crying and begging and he swears it won't happen again and blah, blah, blah. At some point in those 3 years, I was the toxic one. Like, it would get really bad. And I caught myself even, like, not wanting to have that heartbreak. And then me going back to him and being like, why can't we just make this work? We love each other so much. I hate that this is us and what we're doing to each other. You know, I was that person too. And yeah, for sure, after I left, like he had no idea what I was planning behind the scenes. Like, but I had like come back to New York. He was living in Salt Lake City at the time. I landed, I went straight to family court, got a restraining order, pressed charges. Like, I had my suitcase with me. And I was like, I gotta do this while the momentum's here. I gotta strike like while the iron's hot, get me out of this. And like did everything. And then he came to New York like a month later, and he didn't know detectives were searching for him. Wow. But he was just like, where are you? I miss you. I love you. Please, just, I can't believe I'm in New York and I'm not together with you. Can we please just blah, 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 blah. And he was like, meet me at this bar. I don't know how we figured out where I moved, and he somehow found my address, which is weird and scary. And he ended up at a bar around the corner from my new apartment. And he was like, please come meet me for a drink. And please, let's talk this out. And I called my detective, and I was like, he's at 604 Manhattan Avenue.
I was
in
say,
Brooklyn,
did you meet
New
him?
York.
I was like, did you meet him?
No. And she was like, right back to him and tell him, give me 15 minutes and I'll be right there. And instead of me showing up at the bar,
whoop, whoop.
Uh-oh.
And pull-up boys came up.
And he got arrested by a woman, too, which is amazing.
There you go.
I loved it. Yeah.
A little
yeah, yeah.
For you, bastard.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was crazy. It was, you got to break the cycle. And it's very hard to break the cycle. And you shouldn't blame yourself if you're in a situation like that on any level of toxicity or abuse. And you're like, damn, I'm so weak and stupid for still being in. You're not. You're human. You're in an unnatural situation. You'll figure it out. You'll get on your feet and get out. But yeah.
That's a common one, right? We always get mad at ourselves sometimes, like when we make hiccups and stuff like that. But once you realize somebody's always out, there's a lot of people out there who's always gone through the same things you've gone through. Oh man,
yeah.
Like,
I just I'm hosting an event in October. I do something every month for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and
oh, plug it up right now. Right?
Yeah,
Perfect.
I don't know where it's gonna be yet. It is in Miami. It's in October. Follow me on socials and I'll announce it. But what I've done for the last at least couple years, I always either do like a comedy show or a fundraiser or something. But the last 3 years, I've done like panel discussions, kind of like what was a podcast? I did it through like my other podcast, and I do a content capture of it, but it's like a survivor bash, and it's like comedians who are survivors telling their story and storytellers, and a really educational panel discussion. So I'm going to do that again in October with some heavy hitters in Miami who are doing a lot for domestic violence victims. So
oh, nice. Coming up soon, too.
Yeah, and in a couple weeks, we're going to do it. So it should be fun.
Yeah, I saw
fun.
that you hosted a women's night in Thank You Miami recently, like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
How was that? It was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Got some good connections going, some good vibrations in there.
Yeah, I try to do a lot for women in this space, and I try to do a lot of actual work for women in this space. Like, I don't think feminism is like boomeranging each other and being like, yes, queen, or like girls' night, let's go. Oh my God, I'll wingman for you. Yeah, it's like that's not it. It's, you realize like the only way that you're gonna make actual change is by like raising money, providing opportunities. It's not what you do on social media. It's not any of that. It's raising money, booking people, paying people, providing tangible opportunities. But yeah, I have Cat Call. It's a women's organization, and I throw a market at Thank You Miami with local Miami-owned, female-owned businesses. We do it like every other month or so, and it's just, they don't pay anything. They keep 100% of their proceeds, and it's just putting like female business owners at the forefront, basically. Yeah.
Whoa,
yeah.
That's amazing. That's great. And it's good that you do all that, And the thing is, you're putting in the work, and it's like, yeah, like you said, you're not just making a hashtag feminism. Like,
I hate it.
Like,
it's so much of it that I see.
posts,
I'm like, you're not actually doing anything. Oh, yeah. It gets me so upset. Yeah.
Something makes me cringe about like anything. So fine line with social media, right? Because like it feels good, and you want to do it, but like when I see charity on social media, that's when I start to draw the line. I'm like, all right, just do it. But you don't gotta,
just do
But
it.
then again, but here's the thing. Here's the catch that people. But then by promoting you doing it, may make other people do it. So
I think promotion is
there
fine.
You go. Promotion. Yeah, different though. But doing it, right? Not just being like,
yeah,
I don't like this cause. This is wrong. Making a post about how you feel it's wrong and how it hurts you, and then posting it. But then like,
do something about it.
Go to a school. Go talk to some kids. Go help out.
Yeah, they're like women who are actually supporting. I'm like, support is not social media bullshit. Support is not those like stupid pleasantries. Yes, queen. Support is not taking selfies with each other. Support is not girls' nights. It's not. I mean, it is in some level girls' nights. It's like camaraderie, but it's like you really start to realize that it's like if you really care about a cause, it's it like abortion has taught me that. Like I'm a big abortion rights advocate, or even like domestic violence and stuff. And like your whole thought process on advocacy and showing up changes when you start to show up. Like when you're like front lines of every abortion rights protest, watching pro-lifers scream and try to riot at and stuff. Like when you're in it and you're actually showing up for it, your whole perspective changes on what it takes to actually like make progress happen on these issues, if that makes any sense. Like, or you start to see like, you know, you at protests you see that, or you raise tangible money that you give to an abortion clinic that's like, we needed this so badly, thank you so much, like our lights are broken, we're out of this, like you're like, oh, that's support, not all the other bullshit. Not, you know, so many people don't walk the walk. And like that's one area that I always give myself credit, like when it comes to like feminism and like advocating for women. Like I'm like, miss me with that bullshit. Like feminism is not me liking you just because you're a woman.
Yeah, like,
I judge you by the asshole you are, and then we go from there. Like, that's it. Like, I don't need to be your best friend. I don't need to yes queen you. I don't need to hang out with you. Like, that's not what feminism is. Feminism is like, I just raised $1,000 for an abortion clinic that was about to have their doors closed, but now they can, like, keep their lights on. Like, that's, you know, you got to miss all the bullshit. So many people just talk the talk and don't walk the walk when it comes to shit like that. And that's fine, but don't talk that you're walking when you're not walking.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, well, it's like Black Lives Matter too, like black square on the grid, and oh my god, and sharing all these things. And I'm like, how many of you? What are any of you doing to support black business? Or like, did you go to any of the protests? Or are you advocating? Are you writing to your fucking legislators? Are you like just? How are you day to day? Yeah.
What is it called?
Virtue signaling.
Virtually signaling. That's the hard. Well, this is the problem now. But we live in a tough era with a lot of virtual signaling, you know. And it's hard. It's hard because it feels so good too. Like if you do it, I bet you like, you know what I mean. You get like the nice reward from it, and then you get all the benefit from it. But then you're not really putting in the work. So it's like, what do you? Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a hard world that we live in right now, where it's almost more important than the actual cause, like showing that you acting like you care for something than actually putting in the work to care for it.
That's true to some extent, but I do think that the world is we're in bad shape. I don't understand when I meet people that are like, I'm just so blissfully happy and full of joy. I'm like, are you stupid? Like the world's on fire. Like
it's definitely on fire, but what do we do, yo? I feel like, yeah, it's a tough one. So what do you think? The world's on fire, but how do you make it better? We just make your life better and the people around you better, right?
I think so. I think you start showing. I just think that I think the time is done where like social media is an amazing tool if you're doing the work to promote the work you're doing. But I think that shit's bad right now. Like it's getting real. Like rights are getting overturned. Like violence is at an all-time high. School shootings. It's like it's now kind of demanding that we all show up physically in a way.
I don't know what the answer. It feels like. I don't know. I feel like we're in the Truman. You ever seen the Truman Show?
Yeah,
Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
You know the part where he's like trying to go to the end of the water, and the guy's like, put up the thing. I feel like we're in a simulation right now, and like whoever's watching is just like, put up the volume. And it's bro, I remember just before the coronavirus. Remember Australia was burning on fire, and then the coronavirus, and then the George Floyd, and it just got. And then after that, like now, and then like January 6th, and then just it's always like another thing, and what's next?
And it's always gonna be
what's next. Oh, then the shootings came out of no. Oh my gosh! And they're like, all right, bring out the guns. It was crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, the shootings have been happening forever. I mean, we're up to like 4,000 or 5,000 school shootings in the last few years. But you know, yeah, man, I just think it's we all have to do better. You know, it's not gonna. I think the days of sitting back are done, or in the days of, and social media is making us lazy on every front because it makes us feel like we're successful or a bigger comedian than what we are, or a better person than what we are because we shared an article or clipped it. Okay, and it's like, nah, man, you gotta be showing the fuck up physically, you know. And it's because you think you're making change or you think you're moving forward and growing until 5 years from now your comedy career is dead, or worse, like women have even less rights to their bodies, and you're like, oh, I guess I could have done more than just shared that thing on Instagram. Like, that's just my 2 cents on it, you know.
Yeah, so then I feel like right now the biggest thing is mental health is like off the Richter scale, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's going crazy, like, and then that's not that, and then it's just trickling down too, and now it's trickling down on the kids, and I feel like we got to take care of the kids right now, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like building strong kids that take care of each other, like the community or something.
For
right?
sure.
Like, the social media, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so. We can go into this for days with this one because like I can only imagine. I'm pretty like self-aware where like I think I have a little bit of control. Where like, oh, I'm fucking up. I need to get myself back on track. You know. But kids don't have what's their gauge of like, oh, this is too much or too little. You know. Like I'm an adult. You know what I mean? Like trying to figure it out still.
Yeah.
And with social media and with the phone and with the computer, it's hard as an adult trying to figure it out. So I can only imagine growing up as a kid. It's like times are easier, but almost harder, you know?
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
Wild.
They just have to have strong leadership, and we have to teach them to be leaders on their own. And everyone's doing their best. You know what I mean? And yeah, mental health is a huge one. I just got a new therapist. I'm so excited to be back in therapy. I'm like jazzed. I hadn't been in a couple years. And I was like, all right, I can see some gaping holes of things I got to work on and insecurities and stuff like that. And I'm jazzed. I'm like therapy's and student of the month right now. Like, I'm like, yeah, tell me all the things to do. Let's do it.
You used to do therapy before?
Yeah, I did therapy. I did a little bit in college when like my anxiety was really bad. Just went to a couple sessions, and then obviously did like severe trauma therapy after that relationship. But that therapy is like just building you back. Like that's not even like, it's not to downplay it, but it's not proactive progress. Like trauma therapy is like, okay, let's put this literally broken human being back together so that they can like exist and deal with their triggers and believe themselves again and like whatever, have a sense of agency. And then I had a therapist for a little bit after that too, for about like a year, just maintaining and talking and stuff. But I haven't been in therapy in a couple of years, and mental health is crucial. I had felt it like just being in a really weird space this last summer, and I willingly was like, I want behavioral therapy. I think I have a clear sense of what needs to be worked on, so let's fix it. So just
trying.
good.
It's a good awareness to be able to do that. I have a lot of friends that are fighting, and they have therapists, and they're like, I guess it's kind of a therapist. They call them mental coaches, to help them prepare for the stress of competition and stuff like that, and like the big lights or whatever. And but I'm sure that the things. When you perform or when you compete, like you need to, when the other things that are going on in your life, if they're not in track, it's going to affect you in a lot of ways, right? I'm sure when you go on stage, right? Like, with stage is kind of a weird one, right? Because sometimes when things are the craziest, that's when like the most
it comes out.
Fire comes out.
Sure,
That's
sure.
wild, right?
But you also can't get addicted to that feeling too as a comic. Like I think we get so addicted to suffering and self-deprecation as comics, and it's like it's real and raw and vulnerable, but you don't need to suffer to be funny. I think you can find
Oh yeah, like comics be like, oh, like they feel like maybe like I need the trauma, I need the like you're like, oh, what's your pain in your past, like your parents are together, like they sometimes like it's true, like sometimes that pain brings out like the funniest things.
Of course.
Like brings out the most comedic.
What I think it is it's open wounds. You can see open wounds. It's open, exposed skin. So it's like what you see is what you get, and it's raw and it's vulnerable and it's honest. So I don't think that comics need to suffer or put themselves down. I just think they need to work towards living an honest life, like, and being really honest with themselves and comfortable with themselves. And the more they've accepted themselves and what's true about them, good, bad, ugly, maybe it needs therapy, maybe it doesn't, like I don't know, but like I think honest is what makes the best comics. You can tell even if somebody's up there and they're getting laughs, but you're like, this isn't funny, doesn't need to be painful, it just needs to be real, whatever that is.
There you go.
Like Dion Cole has like a great bit, like I think I'd seen him like, and he just opened up his set one time and he was just like, You ever run into somebody you fucked before, but you forgot you fucked, and then halfway through the conversation, you're like, I've seen you naked or something, like, and that's not traumatic. That's not, oh my God, that's just like such a real, vulnerable observation about like human life. But I obviously butchered it, but like, that's a great example. That's just that's somebody so in tune with themselves that moment happened and they were like, I got to talk about this on stage. This is so real right now. Like, yeah.
Those are the funniest. Those are the comedians that I always like love too. That's the people that are the funny. Like when you can sit when somebody, that's the hardest part of comedy though, right? That's why I feel like it takes that such a long time, because to break down those layers too, right? Like to be able to be yourself on stage. That's where I'm sure it takes like the 10,000 hours or like, you know what I mean? It takes those minutes of time. And the more time you get on stage, like the more you can break down those layers.
100%. Yeah. And it's
Right.
like, if you're really committed to stand up, you do it in some fashion, I think, every day, whether it's writing or hitting those open mics or whatever. And stand up has been the best thing that's ever happened to me, in the sense that I will forever, no matter what happens with my stand up career, I'll forever be grateful for stand up for the ways in which it showed me who I am. Like, I feel this whole new, like, self-awareness, probably too comfortable in my own skin, ownership of what I do that's bad, what I do that's great, like what I've been through and stuff. So no matter where that journey takes me, I will forever love stand up for, like, wow, I know myself in a way I didn't 3 years ago, and I wouldn't have had I not actively committed to this. And yeah, because there's some beauty and power in getting up there and being like, this is who I am, as fucked up as it is, or as whatever I went through, or this happened to me and I did this, and yeah. So it's a beautiful way to discover yourself and own and accept who you are, I think. So
When you do, wow, that was a good one.
yeah, I love stand up for that. I'm very clear on who I am right now, and that includes all the things I fucking hate that I'm working on, and all the things that I fucking love that I like praise. But I think I have a good sense of self-awareness right now because of stand up.
Since you started doing therapy, do you feel like it's making your stand-up sharper, like a little bit better on stage? Do you see any correlations with it? Like, you feel like I don't know, like I read it, I was listening to some podcasts. A lot of comedians do therapy.
Yeah. I think everybody should be in therapy. I'm not even gonna lie. I think everybody should have somebody they talk to weekly, bi-weekly, whatever it is. It's all the process of self-awareness. I think, again, therapy is just another form of, like, paying attention to your own body and who you are, and presenting it to somebody free of judgment, and it's self-understanding. At the very least, therapy is like, why do you think you did that? Where do you think that comes from? Okay, how can we not react that way next time, or something? And yeah, for sure, it's all the journey of learning about yourself. Oh God, I sound so namaste. I don't even sound like a comic right now.
No, that's all right. Like, this is so, we're going deep right now.
We're going deep.
What I'm saying? That's all right.
I don't know
There's a time and place for everything. We got jokes.
I don't do fucking small talk. That's it. And my comedy.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, yo. I love it. Yo, we're digging layers. You know what I'm saying? We're getting into it. This is the point. Get to know each other. It's funny. We've been doing comedy. I've been doing comedy now almost a year, and I've seen you all the time, but we haven't really had a chance to sit down and talk.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah,
you're the reason why I'm even doing this damn thing. So there you go. Bum, bum.
You're fucking welcome. And also, I'm sorry. I'm like, you're welcome, I guess. Yeah.
You're looking at me like, oh, young man.
Like, what have I done? I created a monster.
You have no idea.
Oh no. Yeah.
So you started doing comedy in New York, and then you came back to Miami, and you continued your career here in Miami doing comedy?
Yeah. I started in Miami growing up, and then I did it, started stand-up and really went in on it in New York. And then, me living back in Miami is unexpected.
Wow.
Yeah, unplanned.
You came because of the COVID and everything? Or because of the relationship and everything?
Because of COVID. I was up there after the relationship doing comedy full-time, thriving, living, doing the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And in New York, you can start doing mics like at 2 p.m. How many mics a day can you do in New York?
Oh, I've done upwards. My max was, I think, 8 between mics and shows. I got on stage 8 times in one day. Granted, by like the 7th or 8th, I was like, what's happening right now? Like, you're like a little too lucid on stage and a little too comfortable. But yeah, I miss that shit. And that's what Miami needs down here, and we're getting there, is they need reps, and they need stuff like that. And you could say a lot of shit about New York, but like, you can't take away, like, people are real up there, and they work very, very hard at whatever it is that they do. You don't have a choice up there. You won't make it if you're pulling fuck shit, or you're not showing up for, whether it's comedy or anything. You just straight up won't make it in a city like that unless, like, you have your shit together, you're real, and you're committed to whatever it is brought you to that city or is keeping you in that city. Just straight up.
Oh, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere for real, right? It's
yeah.
It's a real melting pot too. Like, you can do any art. All the artists are there. Everybody's trying to make it out there. So it's like, Yeah, what was somebody I heard a comedian talking about that? Like they're saying that like it's not uncommon to be like in your 30s living on somebody's couch in New York, like chasing your dream, like grinding. You know, like,
no, at all. And I mean, I think, you know, that's a little bit what I'm doing now too. I mean, I've gone balls to the motherfucking wall with comedy. Like I haven't had a traditional day job in years, and it's been gig work and some freelance stuff, and mostly just going. And the psychology changes when you take your safety net away and you're really like, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. You do get funnier. You know, you're either going to get funnier or you're going to quit. That's it, straight up. You're either going to get funnier and break through and soar, or you're going to quit. That's it. Like, but somebody had told me that. They were like, you got to let go of the PR. You have to close your PR business. You have to let go of the full-time stuff. You have to they're like, trust me, it's going to be really scary and you're going to be so fucking broke, but like, you're going to become like money funny. Because something in the chemistry about how you treat this is going to change, and you're going to be like, this is it. I'm doing this, you know? So, I mean, at 31, I didn't expect to be like with my parents in Kendall broke, but like, at the same time, I'm like 100 times happier than what I was when I was living alone in Brooklyn, like super financially together, amazing credit score, working in PR. Like I am way happier now, Kendall, with my parents, like grinding and out doing what I love and building something I care about, than I ever was when I was like on time with my credit card payments. Like, fuck that shit, kind of. Like, yeah, that's where I'm at. But
you're pursuing your personal legend.
Yeah. And I think it's going to, you know, if you're going to, Andrew Schultz says it all the time too, that it's like, if you're going to bet on anything, bet on yourself. And like, he did the same thing. He has stories of like recycling the same sandwich 3 times a day, like just to get through, and like living on his friend's couch or floor or whatever. But he's like, I knew if I'm going to bet on anything, I'm betting on me. So it's okay that I'm this broke right now, because I'll be fine. And look at him now, you know? So it's just something worth considering. So, yeah.
That's great, yo. Living the dream of living, baby. You
I
know?
think
like,
so. Yeah.
Yo, you're chasing it, and it does not like again. It's not pretty, right? Like
no,
it's not pretty. It's not glorious.
Yeah.
But all the growth happens in the dark, baby. So
all the growth happens in the dark.
We're in the dark right now. It's all right, but this is where all the good stuff happens, yo.
I think that's anything. That's comedy or anything. Anytime you follow that passion, or you bet on yourself, or you do something. This is insane. I think anybody who tries to build something from the ground up, entrepreneurs, fighters, athletes, artists, it's insane what we do.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, and it's a lonely road. But when it hits, and it's going to be worth it. And you're going to look back on the days when you're broke and your friends are pissed because you missed their bachelorette party or what. And you're going to be like, yeah, man, I was doing something insane. You just got to like trust the process. Like, yeah.
Trust the process. People are you're gonna be missing birthdays. People are gonna think you're crazy, and you're gonna have a belief so strong. And this has been my experience from being around too. Is like your belief has got to be so strong and so crazy that nobody believes it but you.
Yeah, and you're the only one who needs to believe it.
You're the only one who needs to believe it. And sometimes don't even tell nobody.
Yeah.
Just keep it on the low, what you want to do, and go for it. And then keep your dreams in silence, because sometimes you might say something to the wrong person, and they might not see your vision or understand. They might, that's not, or you
get that energy out.
And you can't have no energy fucking with it, you know? You got to be doing God's work. We were just talking about that in the last one, you know, like putting that good energy. And when you put that good energy in, and whatever it is that you're going for, you know, like when you're 100% committed to it, and you know that you're doing the right path, things start to fall in place.
Yeah, totally.
It's crazy,
right?
Yeah,
there's something bigger than all of us and greater than all of us, that it's like, if it's so cheap, but it's like destiny. Like, it's just like, if you're doing what you're meant to do, and if your heart is in the right place with what you're doing, like, you're like, I know I want this for all the right reasons, and I love this unconditionally and whatever, like, it's a little hippy dippy woo woo, but it's true. Like, the universe has got you. Like, I've thought about it with dating, and I've thought about it with my career and stuff like that. It kind of brings me comfort to relinquish control. And I'm a control freak. I'm a type A. All of that kind of stuff. But it's kind of nice being like, the universe is never going to get in the way of anything that's meant for you. Like, It's not. Like, that's not just how anything works. Like, so it's like, that person or that job or that career is meant for you. It's got it. You got it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so, and if it's not working out, it's not meant for you. I don't think the universe is cruel and rips things from you that are meant for you, you know? So
it'll all wash up eventually. It'll all wash up in the ocean, they say, right? Like,
I feel like we should do a drinking game with everybody. Be like, everybody take a sip of Pinot Grigio every time this white woman named Brittany says the universe.
Universe, energy, and what else? We got a few.
Destiny.
We got a few bangers in there, you
know?
The
vibe, you know, making it happen.
All the house classics.
Yeah.
Brittany Brave, we really appreciate you coming out to Honey Badger Hour. So 3 years into comedy, this has been a big year for you. 2019 was a huge year for you. New Time, Miami New Times Comedian.
2019 actually.
Or 2020. Which year? What did you make the?
Miami New Times I won last year, 2021. 2019 I won Best New Comic at New York Comedy Festival. One of the best new comics. Yeah.
New comic. Boom. There you go.
Yeah. What's up, baby?
And this year was a huge year. You you did your first show at the Miami Improv.
Yeah, that was so great.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that.
Stay tuned.
There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anything that you got coming up that you want to plug up before we let you go?
I perform every night, so come and see me. Yeah. I have a web series out on Roku and Tubi, The Disastrous Dating Life of Diane Damone. It's very funny and witty and weird, and go watch it. And
are you writing on that? That's on you? That's all you?
I did not. I helped write, and I co-produced, and I cast it, and I'm the lead and stuff. It's like our little baby. So we're super proud of it, and I love it. It's cool to make something that you genuinely love. It's cool.
That's awesome. And where can the people find you on social medias?
Brittany Brave on Instagram, Britt Brave on Twitter, Brittany Brave Comedy on Facebook, Brittany Brave Comedy on TikTok, Brittany Brave on the dating app. I'm on the dating apps. I hate them. They're so shitty. Brittany Brave on Yelp, Brittany Brave on LinkedIn. I'm on all of it. Yeah.
Brittany Brave. Ladies and gentlemen, Honey Badger Hour, episode 51. We're out.
What? Yeah.
Good
Woo.
stuff.
Fuck yeah. That was awesome. Great combo, man.
Sweating.